Guido was from Accra, Ghana, a very charismatic, popular soul on campus. But what I remember most about Guido is that he left. Chris, he said so poignantly one day, I have to leave Princeton because I am forgetting why I came. I must return to Ghana. I did not come here for the eating clubs, the parties, or the mere exclusivity of it. But I came to learn and then export change back to Ghana. Guido and I had a brief conversation that day, but it was heavy. Then, at a young age, he knew he was called to be a difference maker. He indeed left Princeton, never to returned to Accra, but he revolutionized information technology in Ghana and sub-Saharan Africa. As an open source programmer and a public advocate, he accomplished more in his 30-plus years than many of us accomplish in our lifetimes. Sadly, Guido is no longer with us, but you are. Guido is no longer present, but I am. And what I learned from Guido, though he was taken out by heart failure, is that you have to live the life that is before you, but you must live it to make a difference.
Amen.
He lived to fill a vacancy, to occupy a void. You see, life needs less bench warmers and more players.
Come on, somebody.
Back then, I figured a degree from Princeton, ultimately becoming a medical physician, that was the very attainment of success. I naively thought that my individual success was enough and that good Christian living would excuse a lack of authentic leadership. True leaders are difference makers. And tonight, along with the Owen Foundation, I appeal to you to be those like-minded trailblazers, difference makers, who answer the call, not only to sow powerfully, but to volunteer your knowledge, volunteer your gifts, volunteer your initiative, volunteer your compassion to impart capacity unto another distressed soul. The Owen Foundation, in its heroic efforts, has spotlighted the dire urgency of orphans and widows in need. The statistics are staggering. We read them here tonight. 2 million plus children in Africa become orphans every year. Every 15 seconds, another child in the region is made an AIDS orphan. By 2010, it is projected that the number of orphans in Africa will top 42 million. That's an alarming number. And why is it alarming? Because it surpasses or approaches the number of populations of nations. Canada, 33 million plus. Israel, 7 million plus. Australia, 21 million plus. In essence, we have in our midst a nation of orphans. Likewise, the devastation and the stigmatization that widows face warrant action. But in highlighting pain and peril, one must incentivize why those of us not directly impacted by orphanhood or widowhood, why should we care? Why must we care? And why must we do? In medical school, there was a mantra: see one, do one, teach one. See one, do one, teach one. That was drilled into our psyche. We were taught that the duty of a physician is to intently watch, acquire knowledge, produce a verifiable skill set, which in turn had to be perfected, and then disseminated in order to train up future doctors, to treat, to cure, to empower, to uplift. The undercurrent of such a model was the pressure of time. Yes, in the middle of ordered chaos, we were charged to battle our fears, to steady our resolve, and to adapt despite adversity, and all in a timely fashion. So in what was oftentimes a fast-paced environment, hectic, we student physicians, some of us directly out of college, others seasoned by forays into the quote-unquote real world, were pressured to perform. The see one, do one, teach one edict was somewhat tempered by the dictum that patient safety could not be compromised, that with levels of graduated responsibility and under close supervision, we were nudged, invited, given the right hand of fellowship, as we say in the ministry, to show, prove, and to lead. And so, I speak this mandate into your life here tonight. I challenge you to one, see one, or better yet, to search out and survey the landscape. Be aware, be watchful of the world and its problems about you. Two, do one, get involved, get dirty, get out of your comfort zone, get off of the sidelines and into the game. And three, teach one. If fortified with self-efficacy to survive, then one must pass on this sense of wellness to another soul, who in turn will replenish and refurbish the community of souls about him or her. And by community, we must see what joins us as more salient than what divides or partitions us into neat little groups of those things that are deemed like. Earlier above, I dangled the notion of investiture in front of you. I asked, how does orphanhood or widowhood touch me? Barring the trite invocations of sentimentalism, the how must be communicated in terms which aptly and artfully frame the affected, and how the lack of action is detrimental to us all. Too often in societies, we assign other as that category befitting those excluded from our inner circle, no matter how small or vast the perimeters. Historically, we have been ingrained with the concept that the earth is populated by multiple races which comprise the human species. However, from a biological construct, race can be seen as singular. We are of the human race. We are many ethnicities, we are many colors, we are many languages, we are many histories, we are many homelands, we are many communities, but we are one body. We are one human ensemble, one collective. And if one corner, one limb is ravaged by disease, then disease left unchecked grows into greater disease. And ultimately, the bloodstream may become infected, and sometimes irrevocably so. We, in turn, are compromised if one life is stolen by circumstances that could have been prevented or reasonably alleviated. If we fail to act, if we fail to do, then we have become idle bystanders and guilty of not only turning the other cheek, but of turning our face entirely, of covering our ears and blinding our eyes. We become guilty by way of accomplice, by allowing one life to dissipate, that if it had been nourished and cultivated and not curtailed, had its potential for greatness been nurtured and not starved, an asset would have emerged instead of being snuffed out. See it in these stark terms. Live to rescue another who may embody equal or greater potential than yourself. Live to foster a global atmosphere that tackles fierce dilemmas and actualizes sustainable solutions or outcomes, where intimate dreams are realized and where masses are unburdened. Let us first liberate souls before governments. After which, may we then focus our attention worthily on preventive causes and less on reactionary measures. Let us plan preemptive hope, and let us seed the ground with success stories that fertilize and advance practical support mechanisms and infrastructure by which to maintain progression. Just as the collective of individuals here tonight, just as we can fill that vacant seat